Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be looking at estimating decimal sums and differences. Now, estimating is a little bit different than rounding in this case. We're going to be rounding some different ways. Not only are we going to be rounding to whole numbers, but we're also going to be rounding to something called benchmark decimals. Now, I'm going to show you on a number line what these benchmark decimals look like, but it is imperative that you take good notes to be able to understand what these benchmark decimals are. So please be ready and let's begin. So the first thing we're going to be talking about today is estimating to whole numbers. We're going to take decimals like this and we're going to change them and we're going to estimate them to the nearest whole number, the nearest whole dollar. And then we're going to do whatever the sign says, whether it be add or subtract. In our case, we have a subtraction sign there, so we're going to subtract. Looking at our first number here and our subtraction problem, again, I like thinking of decimals as money. So 27 and 95 hundredths, or $27.95, rounding that to the nearest whole dollar. By $27.95, I hope we can all agree that that is almost $28. It's very, very close to $28, 5 cents away in fact. And then looking at my $11.72, or my 11 72 hundredths, rounding $11.72 to my nearest whole dollar. $11.72 is rightly close to $12.72. I go over to here, I look 7 is 5 or more, so I round up. So my $11.72 is closest to $12. After you have estimated both numbers to the nearest whole dollar, you simply subtract using the same methods that we used in the previous sections. Making sure that my decimals are lined up. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. Decimal, decimal, decimal. 8 minus 2 is 6. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So to estimate my money of $27.95 minus $11.72 shows that I have about $16 left. Now this is a real world situation. You might do this at a store. You might say to yourself that you have, you're not going to say I have $27.95. You're going to say I got about 28 bucks. And this really cool movie that I want is, really it's $11.72. But what are we going to say in real life? We're going to say it's about 12 bucks. And I want to make sure I have enough money to go to the movies tonight. Oh, well, if I buy my cool new video game, I'm still going to have about $16 left. So I'm good to go to the movies tonight. Real world situations. Another form of estimating that we will be doing is estimating also with a whole number, but to the tens place. So we're going to take the same numbers, and instead of rounding to the next whole number, we're going to round to the tens place. In this case, I have a 2 in my tens place. My 2 looks over at my 7. My 7 tells him to jump up. So that makes my $27.95 round up to $30. And my $11.72, my 1 is in my tens place, meaning that I look over to my 1 in my ones place, and 1 says freeze, so my 1 stays the same, everything else turns to zeros. So my $11.72 rounded to the tens place is about $10, and then I subtract that way. Giving me about $20 left over. In my opinion, those are both pretty simple ways to estimate decimal sums and differences, let's look at something that's a little bit more different. We're going to be rounding using, we're going to be estimating using benchmark decimals. Now our benchmark decimals are very similar to quarters, as you notice. I can either round to a 0, 25 hundredths, 50 hundredths, 75 hundredths, or 1 whole. Those are our benchmark decimals. So when you have a decimal and it asks you to round to your benchmark, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, well, what is my number closest to? Is it closest to 0? Is it closest to 25 hundredths? Is it closest to 50 hundredths? Or is it closest to 75 hundredths or a whole dollar? So let's look. With this problem, 76 hundredths minus 22 hundredths. The first thing I want to do is I want to locate both of these numbers on my number line. 76 hundredths. Well, you know 76 is more than 25 hundredths. It's more than 50 hundredths. It's even more than 75 hundredths. It's not more than 1 hundredths. On my number line, 76 hundredths is just a little bit bigger than my 75. So I'm going to put a big old dot right around there to represent my 76 hundredths. Now looking at the dot that I put on my number line, which benchmark decimal is that number closest to? My closest benchmark decimal is obviously my 75 hundredths. It is really close. It is almost like touching each other. They are like partners in crime, that 76 hundredths and that 75 hundredths. So obviously, my 76 hundredths is going to estimate to 75 hundredths. Next, I need to locate my 22 hundredths on my number line. Now 22 hundredths is more than 0, but it is not more than 25 hundredths. It's also close to 25 hundredths, so I'm going to put it about right there. When I have that number located on my number line, I can easily determine which benchmark decimal my actual number is closest to. And for my 22 hundredths, the closest benchmark decimal that he lives next to is the 25 hundredths. So I'm going to rewrite this as 25 hundredths. Now when you round both of your numbers to the nearest benchmark decimal, you can see that this math can easily be done in your head. This can easily be done mentally. So 75 hundredths or minus 25 hundredths rounds to 50 hundredths. And that, my dear friends, is how we add and subtract with estimated decimals. Do some practice problems and see how you do. If you need further assistance, especially with those benchmark decimals, because those do get a little funky, please, please, please come in to class early, and I'll be more than happy to show you or ask questions during small group rotations.